Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly, Senior Editor and Content Developer here at Section215.com. Thank you for tuning in for this Game 3 recap as the San Antonio Spurs win by a 20-point margin, taking Game 3 112-92. Set up for Game 4 in Miami with the Heat having a chance to tie the game or the Spurs having a chance to go up 3-1 heading home for Game 5. In the first quarter, things got going. Kawhi Leonard got going really quickly. 10 points in the first 5 minutes, 16 points in the total quarter, largely due to the fact that they were getting in transition off of some great defensive plays from Danny Green, and then Kawhi Leonard was in attack mode. He had a tremendous performance tonight. The problem, I think, early on that you kind of looked up and said, well, yeah, Kawhi is 16, but look out, LeBron James has 14 in this first quarter, and he hit 2 threes. And normally when LeBron James is hitting threes, especially when it's that off-balance one with the leg kick, that's when LeBron James is on. He did it in the third quarter of Game 2, and it sort of looked like LeBron James was about to be on again. Didn't necessarily end up being off, but certainly didn't have a performance that he did in Game 2. The Heat defense was atrocious in the first quarter. The Spurs kept making cuts wide open right towards the restricted area at the bottom of the paint, and the Heat got in foul trouble because they weren't rotating properly on defense, and they were forced to make some fouls on Tiago Splitter, on Tim Duncan, on Kawhi Leonard down in the paint. Heat give up 41 points in the first quarter, 41-25 heading in the second quarter. The Spurs stayed out in the second quarter. Their defense stepped up and kind of allowed them to get going. Their ball movement is incredible. When San Antonio moves the ball the way that they did early in the second quarter, it is incredible to watch. This might have been the best quarter and a half of offensive basketball that I've ever seen. And then when you combine it with the fact that they were playing great defense in the second quarter, a lot of it was Danny Green again, that it was one of the best runs of basketball that I've watched in a long time. Dwayne Wade ended up having a pretty solid game tonight. He ended up with 22 points, 8 of 12 shooting, ended up having a good game. Really struggled in the first half, though. He had 5 turnovers tonight. Him and LeBron combined for 12, which is largely a reason that they lost by 20 points tonight. Wade struggled in the first half with the turnovers, kind of cleaned it up in the second. But the Heat crept back to within 15 about midway, 4 or 5 minutes left in the second quarter before the Spurs got the lead, back to 21 by setting the record for highest field goal percentage in the first 2 quarters of an NBA final game. The Spurs, what I noticed in the second quarter was that the Spurs have changed their game plan for LeBron James. They're going to let LeBron James get his, especially in the first half. And what they're going to try and do instead is take out Dwayne Wade and take out Chris Bosh. They learned last year that in a lot of senses, if you allow LeBron James, this LeBron James, not Cleveland Cavaliers 2007 LeBron James, if you allow him to shoot jumpers, he might have one off night, but in general, he's going to beat you doing that now. And once he hits a couple jumpers, it's going to open things up for him to drive, him to make layups, him to dunk, and him to kick out to Chris Bosh like he did at the end of Game 2. So you really can't go with that strategy anymore. And I didn't think that they did that in this one at all. What they didn't double team and triple team LeBron a ton in the first half. They allowed him to score, but they kept Chris Bosh down. Boris Diaw, who last year did a very nice job on LeBron James for the first 4 or 5 games of the series, he's on Chris Bosh now, and he really shut him down the first 2 quarters tonight. And I think that is something going forward. Eric Spoelstra, who is not even in the same stratosphere in terms of great coaches that Greg Popovich is in. He's not even in the same stratosphere as one of the best coaches in the NBA now, but that's a topic for another time. He needs to make an adjustment here. In the third quarter, play was physical, but I thought for the most part it was physical, but consistently neither side was getting calls. A lot of people tried to paint it like the Spurs weren't getting any calls or that the Heat were getting calls. The only play I thought in the third quarter that was ridiculous was the Duncan foul on Wade where he brushed his arm. But it's certainly, especially after that hard play that Tony Parker went down, to his physical basketball, didn't have any problem with them not calling the foul. But if you're not going to call that, you're setting the standard that you're certainly not going to call ticky-tack fouls like they did on the Tim Duncan one on Dwayne Wade. And that sort of propelled the Heat to, it propelled Dwayne Wade. He got going. The Heat started playing lockdown defense, getting rebounds, closing out, boxing out, and he cut the lead to 7 points at the end of the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, though, they never really were able to get on a run, and a lot of it had to do with Kawhi Leonard. He had a great offensive showing in the first half, but he won them this game with his defense in the second half, playing tremendous on-ball defense on LeBron James in the fourth quarter. That really allowed him not to get going. And a lot of people ask, oh, LeBron James, why doesn't he just drive? You can't just go out there every night and just drive to the hoop every single time. It takes energy, especially when you're going against a team like this that has very good defense. You had Kawhi Leonard on you. You had Thiago Splitter and Tim Duncan in the paint. You can't just drive to the hoop every single time and play the amount of minutes that LeBron James ends up playing every night. That's not a winning formula. It might win you a game or two, but you're going to be dead by game 3 or game 4 of the series. And a lot of people thought LeBron James looked tired tonight. I don't know if tired is the right word, but it was evident that he wasn't going to be able to drive to the hoop the way that he did in the first half of game 2. And especially the thing that allowed him to have so much success in game 2 was he established himself in the paint early and then hit jumpers in the second half, which really opened everything up. And that's just not going to happen every game. And that's why you can't have games like tonight where Chris Bosh ends up with 9 points. You can't have that. Rashard Lewis had some threes. Ray Allen had some threes. They shot the three ball tremendously in the first half and then fell in love with it, I thought, a bit too much in the second half. They turned the ball over too much. LeBron and Wade, you could tell, made plays that they normally wouldn't because they were tired. And when people say it's 1-9 or 2-9, the Spurs are better, but the Heat have the best player on the planet, LeBron James, it's not a joke. The Heat are largely relying on LeBron James. Dwayne Wade came in, played pretty well tonight, especially in the second half, but he has not done a ton in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he didn't do a ton in the first half or the first 2 games of this series. So LeBron James is going to be tired, and there's going to be a night in this series, if the Heat are going to win, where Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade is going to have the best game. Like last year, game 4, I think it was game 4, where Dwayne Wade ended up having a tremendous game, playing like he did earlier in his career when he was called Flash, with his Euro step and everything. He played a tremendous game. The Heat need that type of performance if they're seriously going to win. If the Spurs are going to win, they're not going to knock down shots the way they did tonight, but if Kawhi Leonard plays defense the way he did tonight, and I'm almost starting to think Tony Parker, don't get me wrong, Tony Parker's one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA, tremendous player, borderline Hall of Fame material. But I almost feel like they're moving the ball better when Patty Mills is in there, because Patty Mills is so unselfish. They're moving the ball to get the open shots, making cuts, things open up, and that tires out the Heat defense, mainly LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and keeps them from doing things on the other side of the court. So I think they should continue to go with a heavy dosage of Patty Mills in Game 4. Last thing I want to talk about, obviously the Spurs get the win, go up 2-1, was Heat fans exiting early. I am not jumping on this bandwagon because it's the popular thing to do. Rather, I'm jumping on this bandwagon because Miami sports fans suck in every sport that they have. They don't show up for the Dolphins, even though they have this bandwagon fan base across the country. And I'm not saying all Dolphins fans are bandwagon fans, but the ones outside of Miami that are fans from 1972, guess what we call that a bandwagon fan? The Miami Marlins. I mean, that speaks for itself. The attendance has gotten a little bit better, but Florida sports fans in general, Miami specifically, are not pro sports fans. They don't care about pro sports. And if it's a regular season game and you're down by 20 and you're trying to beat traffic home, I'm not the type of person to do this, but I understand people that do it. But my God, in the NBA Finals, when you're paying hundreds to thousands of dollars for a ticket, I'm staying there every second of the game. I'm not wasting any of my money by leaving 2 or 3 minutes early. It's not even that they were going to come back, because it was evident that they weren't coming back. It's just, you're paying that much money and you're going to leave early. Miami fans, they don't deserve LeBron James. It's as simple as that. You put LeBron James, I don't want to be an East Coast homer, but you put LeBron James in Philly, New York, Boston, even other cities like Cleveland, LA, Seattle, if David Stern didn't steal their team away from them, and that place is packed every regular season game. You look up in a Heat NBA Finals game and you can see empty seats. It's ridiculous. You can get a playoff game in the Northeast and there won't be a seat in the crowd. You saw games in Toronto, and obviously the red seats and the red jerseys make it a little easier to hide, or the red shirts that they gave out to everyone. But Toronto was packed. You go to Brooklyn, it's packed. New York, I mean, I know they care more about college football down there, and it's whatever. I'm not as big a college sports person as pro, but man, I think that there are cities that aren't basketball cities, but if you put LeBron James in that city, it's going to sell out years straight. And Miami has just never gotten that. It's a soft sports town. I don't know what else to say. Spurs win Game 3. Let me know what you guys think. Section215.com. I'm Tim Kelly. I'll catch you guys next time.